And as always, hello.
Hello.
So on tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. He's still in Mexico, the lucky bastard, staying in place, about the cancellation of the Olympics. I think the Olympics important. We'll talk to him about that. We're going to talk about Apple may start reopening stores in mid-April. Is that a good idea? And in our starting point for document segment, we're going to talk about when is photo editing cheating. Now, I rushed through all that stuff for a reason. I got a story to tell you. I went to a doctor's appointment last week, regularly scheduled physical. I haven't had a physical since I was 25. Been a long time. So,
That's me. That's why he's having a physical. It's because of me.
So went and got the physical. Doctor said, go get blood tests and then come back and we'll talk about your blood test numbers. Great, no problem. So this Friday I go back. I go to the doctor's office and it's empty, completely empty. Now our doctor's office has a setup where there's a line. You don't just walk up to a receptionist. There's a line. You stand well behind the line because there's medical stuff going on. But this time the line was directly inside the door. Like you walk in the door and you stopped. And there's a sign that says, stop. We'll call you forward. Okay. So I'm standing there. And there's signs that say, if you're not feeling well, let us know, wear a mask, all the usual stuff. But it's not of any concern. There's no one in the waiting room. So eventually one of the three receptionists says, come on over. I said, hi, my name is Shawn King. I'm here for my appointment, Dr. Yu. And she goes, oh, okay. And she types away. She goes, what's your name? Shawn King. Just a second. Would you mind stepping back? Sure. Okay, no problem. So I go and step back. And I'd already been standing like 6 feet away from her. I didn't walk up to her desk. They had made me stand further back, which, again, fine, no problem. So I step even further back. And I hear she gets up, and I hear her go back into the other room. And she comes back out and says, you're Shawn. She brings someone else, another nurse receptionist. You're Shawn King? Yes. And they check on you live here. This is your birth date. This is your medical insurance number. Yeah, it's all right. Okay, just a second. So they go away and I hear, now it's three people talking. And then a nurse sticks her head around the corner, like halfway down the hallway and says, please follow me, but don't get too close. Okay, well, they're taking this very seriously. I get that. I have no problem with them taking this very seriously. I'm in no rush. I'm a chill guy. Don't worry about it. So we go as far back into this clinic as you possibly can. You can't get any further back. In one of the very, very last room. And And she sits me down. And she's like in another room, sticking her head around the corner going, go into that room over there. So, wow. All right. So I go in and sit down. And I pull my iPhone out. I got my iPhone. I'm good. I'm playing the stupid game we're playing. Spell Tower game.
A word game.
And I'm playing. Like 10 minutes goes by. I hear this knock on the door. Come in. Door opens up. And it's a nurse in full gear. Not hazmat gear. But she's got the gown on. She's got gloves. She's got the gloves taped up. She's got a shield on. And I'm like, whoa. Are you Shawn King? Yeah. Is your birthday here? Yeah. You live here? Yeah. Okay, just a moment. She goes back out. They are taking this really seriously. It's like, wow, this is intensely serious. They should have just cancel the appointment because it's just for a physical. So 10 minutes go by. I'm still on my phone. Knock, knock, knock. Door opens up. Two people now. Another female and a male. I'm assuming is the doctor. And the doctor guy says, "Are you Shawn King?" And he's all gowned up too. He's got the full gown on. He's got the wrist thing, the gloves, the face shield, the whole deal. Jeez, these guys are taking this really serious. And none of these people are my doctor. So I don't know who any of them are. And so the doctor goes through the whole thing again. And the doctor, obviously trying to be conversational, but still seeming a little suspicious of me, says, so, how was your trip to Hawaii? Huh? How was your trip to Hawaii? I've never been to Hawaii. He went, what? I said, I've never been to Hawaii in my life. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't go to Hawaii. You couldn't. I'm trying to lighten the mood here going, you couldn't pay me to go to Hawaii. He said, our notes here say that you said that you called us and said that you had just come back from Hawaii 4 days ago and weren't feeling well. What? No, no. And the doctor goes on, we got a hold of a friend of yours who confirmed it. And my first statement was, I don't have any friends. I don't But what I meant to say is, I don't know anyone you could have called except my wife. And she certainly wouldn't say, oh, the asshole's been in Hawaii for... What? I said, I'm sorry, doctor, what's going on? She said, we've got a note on your chart that says you called us and said that you'd been in Hawaii, got back from Hawaii 4 days ago and weren't feeling well. That's why you came in. And I said, I swear to you, doctor, that's not me. And he's like got this look of, this guy's trying to, slide into the system, get ahead, get a test early or whatever it might be. I'm like, I swear to you, I've never been to Hawaii. I would never go to Hawaii. I have no interest in Hawaii. And I was like, okay, let's check this out. And he goes away and he comes back. And now my doctor is with him. My doctor isn't wearing the full scrub gear. And Dr. Yu, here's your patient. Dr. Yu sits down. And Dr. Yu says, I just got back from the hospital because they told me that you weren't going to be in for your physical. You were going to be in for coronavirus testing. I'm like, how did that happen? He said, I have no idea. The only thing I can think of is that somebody opened up the wrong chart and typed the notes into the wrong person. They didn't do what these other ones did, was check the details over and over and over again to make sure they were typing it into the right field. And I got in mind, someone hit save, and boom.
I'm sorry, they were saying that you phoned in.
Yes, that I had contacted them and said that I wasn't feeling well. I just got back from Hawaii 4 days ago. And it's, who said it? Yeah, Monty. Only you, Shawn. I know! This shit doesn't happen to other people.
No.
This just weird, random shit happens to me all the frickin' time.
It's true.
I
just wait for the next story.
It's so bizarre. And I wish it was something interesting, the stories I tell about this stuff. But it's not, just weird little shit.
That's a okay pandemic story, I think.
That's right, yeah. If you got to tell a pandemic story, that's the pandemic story you want to tell.
Yeah.
That's the one. Not that you were trapped in a room full of coronavirus victims. You
No.
know, that everyone thought you were one.
Yeah, and then the doctor's office was empty.
Completely empty, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely empty.
There he is. At least they didn't come and spray you with something.
Well, the funniest thing was, and you kind of ragged me about that, was that you said, what is it, something about it's your nature? What did you say? Your Nova Scotia nature?
Well, because you're so laid back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure what I said.
She said something along the lines of, because you were much more upset than I was.
I was because it's a doctor's office and I'm confused. I don't like it that this kind of mix-up happened. I mean, you don't know what else could have happened. Maybe someone's test results got mixed up. That's just a little bit scary.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be checking and double-checking this
Yeah.
sort of thing.
And something happened in the double-checking and it didn't get through.
I worry about this. There was this long, big Facebook rant about something that was posted from the superintendent of schools. And Shawn was just making a point that he wasn't very clear in his language and everybody got on the bandwagon. But there was this one guy that was making all these comments and started to get a little bit nasty with Shawn.
Which never works, as you all know.
He then put on that big Facebook rant, oh, well, Shawn King just went away. He was overseas. And he didn't know who I am because I'm Melissa Berryman. I wrote back and I said, I can assure you, sir, that he has not been overseas. I don't know why you're saying that. Yeah. Oh, it was put up and he took it down. Yeah. So I just wondered if there was a link.
Yeah. No, there wasn't any link. And so two things. Part of it is, and this is very funny, thank God for the iPhone. Because part of it, I think, is the iPhone. Is that because I wasn't bored. If that had happened to me without an iPhone, like previous times, if I'd been just sitting in the doctor's office for 5 minutes, I'd have gotten antsy. And the first person that came to me, I would have gotten grumpy with them and go, what the hell's going on here?
Oh, but see, I see that as a problem. You see it as a good thing. I see it as a problem.
So the iPhone made me go, I wasn't in a rush. It was a Friday. I wasn't going anywhere, So it was no big deal to me I thought, because in my head, I'm thinking they're just being really, really careful. That something's happened in the clinic that they didn't want to tell anybody about. They don't want to scare people. So they're just being very, very cautious right now. And so for me, I was like, okay, I get the caution.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit annoying, but they're just doing their thing. I'm not going to get upset at anybody in these situations for just doing their thing. Plus, I had an iPhone. I was going for a high score in Spell Tower. I was okay for sitting there. Wasn't.
But like Sherry just says, some worker called her from a local clinic and almost gave her someone else's test
Yeah.
results.
Well,
that kind of thing disturbs me.
as someone as Sherry says, yeah. So who's going without a test then? That's a huge fuck up. Dave Dees. That means
right.
someone else
and
is
that's
walking
what we
around
said,
sick.
Dave. I said, well, who's walking around after they've just got back from Hawaii? And we live in a small community. It's very connected.
Yeah.
And was it this morning? Someone wrote, I know that somebody just got back from Mexico and they're out and about. They're doing their thing. They're doing this and that. And then we had sort of a visit this morning on our driveway with our friends, Corey and Bryce. And we all stayed a good distance. And Shawn and I and Damon were out there. And straight away, people knew the gentleman that he just got back from somewhere and he owns this and that and he's out and about doing his business and he's not taking precautions at all.
He owns the local Shell station and local Tim Hortons,
And
so
Tim
everyone knows the
Hortons.
guys.
And people were saying on Facebook, well, what should I do? Should we report him? And it's interesting to see some people go, oh, that's a bit harsh. And I'm going, no, it's not. Compromised here. Like, I don't want anyone in this community not being 110% cautious what they're supposed to be. I'm not even hugging my beautiful soul sister Corey.
That's
where,
right.
We're giving air hug. I miss hugging you. I miss you too. That's just irresponsible, and he should be charged.
I think there is now a mechanism in place to charge people for that, but I like the idea of the community shaming thing. I saw the guy who owns the Shell station at Super Value. I know he just got
been
back
away.
from Hawaii. And the government is saying...
He was in Mexico.
Oh, Mexico. Sorry, Hawaii is the other story. The government is saying if you've been out of the country, you have to self-quarantine for 14 days. And self-quarantine is different from self-distancing. Self-quarantine is you stay in your goddamn house.
I feel like people that are arriving now overseas should get a little... something on them that doesn't go away for 14 days,
That's right. Like that ink they put in bank bags. If you can steal them and they open them up, put it on your finger or something. That stuff's a real bitch to get off.
But some way you can
says
see
from
it.
experience. So anyway, that's
dye bombs. Yeah.
Dye bombs. That's what they're
glitter.
called.
That's right, Sherry. Glitter never goes away. Glitter's years later.
But the problem is there'd be a whole community of it. No, I'm just a drag queen. You can't do that. You can't.
Oh my God, there are no drag queens in our name.
No, they're not. That's it.
Scarlet T.
The Scarlet T. Exactly. P for pandemic. Q for quarantine.
Traveler.
Later in the show, in our starting point photography segment, we're talking about when is photo editing cheating. And I'll talk about that, and it's a very fine line that Melissa brought this up a few months ago, and I didn't get around to talking about it, but there was an incident that just happened I want to talk to you guys about. But up next, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com about his trip to Mexico and what he's up to, and whether the Olympics should be canceled permanently. All that and much more coming up. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here on this Wednesday evening. On our phone, as always, we have our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com, who is still down there in beautiful Mexico. Jim, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing good, and I do have some news for you.
Oh, good. What's that?
No, so I'm staying another week here. So I'll be here next week for the show, too.
So, sorry, back that up. I missed the first part. What was the beginning of that?
We're staying another week here.
For any reason? You're not sick or anything, right?
No, because San Francisco is a disaster. So
That's right. It's a freaking dead zone.
I don't want to go back there. I mean, no. To be perfectly honest, the county still one of the worst counties in California.
Yep.
And we are on a complete lockdown there. And we still may be, even if I stay another week. But You saw that picture I posted of my Heineken.
Yes, yes, I did.
Can, right?
Yep.
So that is the view off of the balcony. So I'm thinking go back to California and be quarantined or that. So
well, I'm posting video on the video feed right now that somebody did with their drone through the streets of San Francisco, and San Francisco is literally empty. Those of us who,
as it should be.
Absolutely. You know, those of us who have been to Macworld Expos around this time of year know what San Francisco looks like during this time of day, and literally there's maybe one person per 10 blocks that you can see in the video. There's no cable cars, no cars driving around. It's pretty incredible and pretty scary. So yeah, if you got a choice between staying in Mexico or going back to that place, no, stay in Mexico. It makes perfect sense.
Just to be perfectly clear, I am practicing my best hand washing and distancing and everything still down here.
Yep.
But when I have that type of view, and I walked 6 miles yesterday.
Wow.
I walked, I don't know, maybe 4 today. Just in the complex. Just walk. There's not many people here because a lot of the Canadians and Americans flew home.
Yep.
So I'm here. I'm enjoying myself, and I thought, let's see what United says. If United says you got to evacuate, okay,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
But they said, oh no. So we're good. You want to push it to next week? Fine.
So what are you guys doing for food? Are you going shopping? Are you just eating at restaurants? Are the restaurants open? Tell us about that situation.
So the governor of Jalisco, I think where we are in Puerto Vallarta, closed the town. No, they invited the town to close. Is the right way to put it. So some restaurants, the restaurants that are open are doing they put X's on the tables, or some restaurants have removed tables so that you are sitting 6 feet apart. There has not been a reported case in Puerto Vallarta yet. So, is that going to change? Absolutely. There will be cases here too. I'm not thinking that there won't be.
Yeah.
This is not the only place on earth that is not going to have a coronavirus case. I get that. But, for now, there hasn't been a single case reported here. The ban on restaurants and bars lifts tomorrow, actually. That's not to say that I'll be, rushing out to restaurants and bars. And yes, we do. What is that bird? Go away. That's not to say that the restaurants and bars, I'll be rushing out to them. And the grocery stores are open. The same. I'm gonna kill that bird. Where are you? So yeah, we went grocery shopping when we got here last Saturday, and now that tomorrow we plan on going grocery shopping again. And, just picking up what we need. And, even if we are sheltered in place here, I can't think of a better place to be sheltered in place.
No kidding. There certainly are very few better places. That's for sure. What are you doing for entertainment? Are you at the resort now, or at your own condo now?
Our own condo.
Okay, so the resort, at a resort, for those folks who don't know, they'll have evening entertainment, that kind of stuff. So what are you guys doing? Are you just sitting home watching Mexican Netflix?
Well, that stuff is actually closed. So when the governor shut that down, the hotel shut all that stuff down.
Yeah.
There's no resort type thing. I mean, we're just so we do watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you don't speak Mexican.
You can watch U.S. Netflix down here, which I did not know.
Yeah, which is unfair. We don't get that in Canada.
Right. So I can watch U.S. Netflix down here. I can't watch Hulu, and I can't watch, like Xfinity and stuff like that.
You don't have a VPN set up?
Hush now. I've been here for almost 2 weeks. What do you think?
Honestly, I think you've been sober fewer days than you've been drunk. You're doing the math now, aren't you?
I'll take that bet. I am. I'll take that bet.
Yeah.
So it's been very good. The people of Mexico have been absolutely wonderful, and again, I can't think of a better place if I have to self quarantine than standing on the balcony that I am right now.
Yeah, no kidding. So let's talk about the situation that's going to happen in a week's time, 2 weeks' time. Middle of April, there's rumored that Apple is trying to plan to reopen their stores in the middle of April. Do you think that's a good idea, knowing what we know now about the way this is likely to continue to ramp up, at least for a little while?
See, you know what? I saw that and I thought, Apple, as they always do, plan for the future, right? And everybody is doing this. Yes. It's not just Apple.
That's right.
But, it's just Apple stuff that gets leaked.
Yep.
So, all of the stores that are closed are planning on reopening as soon as they can.
Yep.
So Apple is working with the CDC and WHO and, all of these organizations and say, when do you think it would be safe? And they say, maybe mid-April. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It means that they are making plans to reopen things in mid-April. If things are like they are right now,
yeah.
Of course they're not going to do it. But they're a business. They have to keep making these plans. And if mid-April doesn't happen, and like you said, the information that we know now, it probably won't.
Yeah.
But who the hell knows what's going to happen between now and mid-April? I mean, we have no idea what that's going to be. So if mid-April comes and it's as bad as it is now, then of course they're just going to say, no, we're not opening. And see, that thing, it was Gurman that did it, right?
Yep, it usually is.
That was from internal sources. So the internal sources said, so we could end up at mid-May,
yeah,
mid-June. I mean, we don't know, but being a business as they are, they have to keep these plans in place to make sure that they are ready to open when it's safe.
I take heart in. Sorry, go ahead.
And that's all I read into that. When I saw that piece, that's all I read into it. Okay, Apple's making plans. Why wouldn't they? I bet if you went to any other retailer that's closed, they're making the same type of plans, just that nobody cares about that.
I take heart in the fact that Apple has historically, at least since Steve Jobs came back, and certainly through Tim Cook, have said publicly, and I believe them, when they say they don't make decisions based on increasing their stock price. So some companies might make these kinds of announcements in order to make investors believe that, oh, yeah, things are going to get better. We're going to start selling product again. So let's push this. I don't think Apple's doing that. Apple's doing that because they actually
No.
believe that they can do that. And certainly with restricted hours, with restricted people coming in the stores won't be packed. You'll be made to wait outside. Well, only X numbers of people will be allowed in the stores. Now, that being said, if Apple opens up stores in mid-April, given whatever restrictions they're going to do, would you go into one of their stores?
Well, a tough question to answer right now. I mean, if you asked me a month ago, would I go to Mexico? Sure. Well, but, and here I am and I'm staying, but would if you said 2 months ago or Christmas time, you know what? The streets of San Francisco are going to be empty. I'd say you're crazy.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's going to happen. And there is no way that Apple is going to open up a single store unless it's safe.
Yes.
Unless the CDC and the WHO says, you know what? We're good.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Showing video
Happens.
now. Sorry.
It happens.
Showing video now of, again, eerily empty Apple Park, the drone footage I posted on the Loop the other day of the Apple campus is empty because they've functionally closed everything down. I don't know that if I needed to go into an Apple store in mid-April that I actually would. I don't see anything so compelling that I need to go into the store at that time.
Well, what if you're and you are a professional photographer,
Yep.
and all of a sudden your computer craps out and you need this to work. You
That's right.
have projects that are due. I bet you'd go into an Apple store.
Yep, you're right. If I was going to lug an iMac or a MacBook in, I would certainly go in. I would take whatever precautions I could, but I certainly wouldn't be going
Of
into an
course.
Apple store just to go shopping right now.
Well, I mean, we're all trying to be, I think, at least everybody but those who are on spring break, are trying to be reasonable about this whole thing.
Yep.
And we're trying to be sensible. And, we're just trying to make sure that, we're safe and the people around us are safe.
Yep.
I mean, God, today, Prince Charles
Yep.
got the coronavirus. King of England, as isolated as he is, get the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So Jackson Brown got the coronavirus, and all of these different people, and that's the majority of people. We hear about the famous people that are getting the coronavirus,
Yep.
and I feel bad for everybody that has it because they're the ones that supposedly, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know, but the ones that supposedly have it that have a hard time fighting it are the older people. So, hey, Prince Charles, guess what?
Yeah.
Your son is going to be the next king, not you.
Isn't that a kind of a wild? I remember hearing that news this morning, and our as Canadians, certainly myself as a proud citizen, proud subject of Her Majesty the Queen, feel
Me
bad
too.
for Prince Charles. But then I thought he's been king in waiting for longer than the two of us have been alive.
Yeah, and that's just awful.
Isn't that wild that he's been waiting to get this
Because-
gig for more than 50 years?
She will not give it up. She will not give it up. Now, if you look back, and I know that this will bore most of your listeners, but if you look back, the Queen Mother actually, she took over at a very young age. She was like 21 or something when she became queen.
No, not the Queen Mother, the Queen Elizabeth.
Yes, no, but the Queen Mother was still alive. So Queen Elizabeth took the throne when she was like 21.
Yes, yeah.
Had Charles, and he's just been waiting around for his entire life to be king, and now he gets a virus. I mean,
it's gotta suck.
He must be just sitting back tonight saying, "Fuck me," like,
right.
I bet Mom gave this to me.
Yeah,
No
kidding.
mean, it's just kind of crazy when you think about it.
Speaking of crazy, the expected news of the Olympics being postponed to 2021 finally happened.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Canadian government the Canadian IOC, International Olympic Committee, announced it like 2 days before the International IOC did, because the Canadians said, we're not going. Whether you postpone it or not, we're not going. So, that being the case, that's a good decision, right? There's nothing wrong with that decision.
So let me be very clear, and I don't mean any disrespect, but can win a medal in the Summer Olympics if the country's whole heart depended on it.
Yeah.
Now, the Winter Olympics, look at hockey, skiing, yeah, we're all over that.
Yeah.
But the Summer Olympics, no, nobody cared if Canada pulled up. But I mean that's like South Africa pulling out of a hockey game. Well, who cares?
No one's going, phew, thank God they're not here. My odds just went up. No, your odds of getting 10th just went up.
Now, yes, it was a good decision for Canada, and that's what I meant. I don't mean any disrespect to the Canadian athletes. Yeah, it was a good decision. It was the right decision by Canada. And so every day I listen to a CBC podcast, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, as it happens.
Yeah.
It's one of the best podcasts, or if you're in Canada, live shows that you could ever listen to. And I love it. And I listen to it every day. I've been listening to it catching up here while I've been here. And because one day I sobered up and realized that I hadn't been listening to it in like a week and a half. So I've been listening to that, and it's interesting to get the perspective from Canada, and I think that they've been doing a lot of the right things to try and combat this thing.
That being said, is this the time now for the world to say, we don't need the Olympics anymore? It's not going to be missed.
No.
There are athletes who are going to miss it. I'm going to miss the drama of it. I loved watching the Olympics. But Melissa and I talked about this 2 or 3 weeks ago on the show. Do we need the Olympics anymore? Should we just cancel Olympics altogether?
No.
Why not?
I think the Olympics are wonderful.
Yeah. I
really do. Now, once you start getting pros in the Olympics, then it kind of, I mean, are the Canadian pros going to win hockey? Well, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, yeah, they're gonna win. I mean, are the American basketball players going to win? Of course. Yeah. So that kind of skews it for me when the pros are allowed in. But when it's amateur athletes, and these people have worked since they were children to be in the Olympics. And that I find fascinating. And I love watching the Olympics. I don't care what's on. I actually watch curling.
Oh, God, yes. Well, you have to watch curling. It's in the Constitution of Canada. But I watch team handball.
I know.
I watch water polo.
Right. I watched everything.
Yeah, me too.
I could sit down and watch with the Olympics. I watched. And, when you realize that those people have trained since they were, 5 years old, 6 years old, to be an Olympic athlete, and here they are. I mean, damn. They are good.
Yes, but every one of the sports we've mentioned have their own individual world championships that go on every year, every 2 years. Do we need the Olympics for that? We can still watch those sports.
I don't watch that stuff, though.
But
because
if that stuff
those
didn't
are
have
pros.
But if they didn't know, then they're not pros. The luge guys, the water polo guys, there's no pro water polo guys. Those are still amateurs for the most part.
No. The luge guys and those guys, they have a circuit when they go pro.
Yes, but
they have a circuit.
But they're the same guys we watch when we're watching the Olympics.
You know what I want to see in the Olympics? I think some of the stuff that they have in the Olympics now is kind of crazy.
I agree.
Beach volleyball and stuff. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But you know what I want to see in the Olympics? Have you ever watched the X game where people go down a hill on ice skates?
Yeah.
And like it's a race down to the. That's what I want to see in the Olympics. Canadians will kick ass.
Roller derby on ice.
Roller derby on ice down a mountain.
Yep, it's. I love it. It's fascinating. There's a whole Red Bull circuit of it.
Yes. I saw that one night, and I said, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, I want this.
This is my sport right here.
Right.
I want this in the Olympics. So no. In all seriousness, the IOC. I don't know why it took the IOC so long. Besides the fact that obviously there's years and years of planning that go into doing the Olympics. Okay, so that much I get, but they did need to be canceled, and they did the right thing. I mean, it's what had to happen.
Yeah, it's called Ice Cross. So there's a whole circuit of Red Bull downhill ice skating crashes. You want to have some fun? Watch that. It's a lot of fun to watch those guys.
And you could wipe out like in the first turn and still win because everybody else is going to wipe out too.
MacMan says pressure from Japan most likely. I would disagree. I would say the pressure came more from the IOC because that's where they make their money. That's where they make the money to go forward for the next Olympics. And the Olympics after that is from the broadcast rights, especially NBC, who paid literally billions and billions of dollars to the IOC to put these events on. Those stadiums in Japan will still be there.
I don't understand the pressure to do what? To cancel it or to keep it going?
Keep it going. The IOC would have put pressure on Japan to keep it going. Because the IOC makes the vast majority of money. Japan, the Olympics generally for the country and for the organizing committee lose money, but the International Olympic Committee makes billions of dollars off of this.
To be clear, Japan is one of the countries with the fewest cases.
Yep, exactly. That's one of the reasons why they wanted to keep it going.
One of the reasons I think why they wanted to ditch it, because they don't want people coming in and getting their population sick.
Yep.
That's why I was asking the question, what was MacMan saying? What were you saying that, it could be Japan, it could be the IOC for delaying it? I mean, if I were Japan, I would be saying, no, we don't want it.
Yeah.
Don't bring all those potentially infected people to my country.
But still, I don't see a objective reason to continue with the Olympics. We don't need the Olympics. I love the Olympics. I love watching them. I love the walk-on ceremony. I love seeing the Canadian flag. I love all the fun speculation of who carries the country's flags. I love seeing all those little countries in their beautiful outfits. That's one of the most fun things for me is the parade of athletes. But
no, I could do without that.
The Olympics.
Just get to the hockey and Usain Bolt. I mean, watching that man run is incredible.
Yep, that's right.
But I don't think he's there anymore anyway.
No, he's retired. But to your point about the athletes have been, preparing for this for most of their lives, certainly more than half their lives, because most of the athletes are in their early mid-20s. I feel bad for them, but if we cancel the Olympics, they would either go on to the international version of their sport, the yearly national championships, or they would no longer be doing that thing that they're not going to be doing for the rest of their life anyway. This was for a lot of them. Olympics are a one and done thing. Some will do 2 Olympics, very few do 3 Olympics, and almost none do 4 Olympics in most sports.
Yeah, but if you look at some of the skiers that are in the Olympics and they go on, the World Cup tour and things like that, they make a lot of money.
Sure, they do. And they still can. If we cancel the Olympics, they can still make that money.
But they retire in their late 20s because their knees are so bad, like mine.
That's right.
Or because they're just beat up so bad they can't do it anymore. Because at some point in your age, you develop of, hey, I think I want to live.
Yeah, that's right.
And then they slow down going down the mountain, and the kids that are behind them pick it up.
Yep. That just happened recently. A little digression. My favorite sport is motorcycle racing, MotoGP, and a world champion retired this past year because he had a crash in a race 2 races ago, and he crashed so bad in such a way it terrified him, and he retired from the sport because he'd had that one crash that finally put forth the idea in his head, this could kill me. Now, that's not true of most sports. Now, ping pong and tennis and water polo, you ain't going to die in it. But, certainly downhill skiing and the really, really competitive curling we have in Canada, you could die. It's a possibility.
Yeah. Curling in Canada, it's a totally different sport. You don't see that.
Sometimes, if you're not careful, you're sweeping with a beer in your hand and you trip. And you smash it. You look at the videos on YouTube. They're ugly, man. They're just, paramedics are there. It's terrible.
Shit could happen.
Exactly. Shit could happen. So now the embargo's up on the MacBook, the new MacBook Air, and the new 12-inch iPad. You, because you are comfortably ensconced in your estate in Mexico, haven't done your review yet. You won't do it now it won't be for 2 weeks until we get the review out of you lazy bastard. Have you read any of the reviews? Have you heard anything about these machines from the reviews that are of interest to you?
So I glanced over Panzerino's and I glanced over Gruber's, only because I don't like to read reviews before I do them.
Yeah.
And because I don't want it to cloud me one way or the other. So I glanced over them just to see what they thought. And they, as usual, they were a bit more technical than what I would be in mine. Yeah. So I'm not really worried about that. But I did have some conversations about the new gear. And, I know what interests me. Yeah. Like about the new iPad Pro, and a lot of that is about the usability. I'm in Mexico right now. I would have loved to have tried the new iPad Pro now. Yeah. And taken it with me, but I have my computer with me, so I know what I'm looking for when I travel, and that's what I'm looking for from the iPad Pro. And I brought a 16-inch MacBook Pro with me. Would I love to bring, a MacBook Air? Yeah.
It's interesting that so many people are saying, well, I'm not going to update or upgrade from my previous iPod Pro. And no, most of the reviewers are saying that. Spec-wise, this is just a bump. It's not a huge deal from last year's iPad Pro. But from 2 years ago or even 3 years ago, if you're still in the market for an iPad, this is a no-brainer for you. This is a much more capable machine. The new iPad OS is coming out that is included with it is much, much more powerful and useful. I think as of the iPad OS, the iPad can no longer be, and it hasn't been true in a long time, but no longer be called a giant iPhone. It's now a device in its own right, and certainly much closer to a full-blown laptop than it would be a giant iPhone. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think with iPad Pro, I think a lot of people that had the iPad, the last generation iPad Pro, which I do have and I have with me, I think that they will upgrade too because of LiDAR. No. And I think a lot of the upgrades to this version it's going to depend on what you do. If having, something like LiDAR for a developer is going to be a big thing for you, there is no question you're upgrading. No question at all.
But I wouldn't recommend anyone that they upgrade the MacBook, the iPad Pro for LiDAR. That right now is just a gimmick. It will become an important part of the use case for the iPad in the future. And right now, if you're a developer involved with AR, you should definitely get the iPad Pro. But for the average person, if you've got the previous version like Jim has, I don't see anything really compelling in the iPad Pro. As much as I lust for one, if you've got a previous version, I don't see a way I could recommend that you upgrade to the iPad Pro.
Well, like I said, my thing is going to be all about usability. Will that new stand that they have work on my lap, and will it allow me to unlock the machine easily? And what can I do with that? Is it actually like a laptop? And if that's the case, I mean, now, Apple always said, I don't care which one of your products you buy one of them.
Exactly. That's right. We don't care which one you buy. As long as you buy one of them from us, we're good. We'll get your money. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Got any questions? Got any questions for me?
Yes, sir.
All right, fire away.
This is becoming a thing. This is like the gym show here.
Yeah, it's a shame you don't have your own podcast that you can invite me on.
Well, I should do that when I get back. So you made a comment on my photo that I posted of my beer can.
Yes.
And said, "Who took that for you? Why do you think somebody was that a good photo?"
It was a very good photo. No, it wasn't just a good photo. It was a very good photo. It was a photo that I made me. My definition of a good photo is one where I want to ask you a question about it. Is where I want to know the story of the photo, or I want to know how you took that photo, or I want to know something about the photo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for me, as much as it was a dumb Heineken photo, it was a cool shot, really well composed. And I'm posting this up on the website or on the video page so folks can see what I'm talking about. It was a well composed shot. It had a great sunset in the background. It looked really, really nice. And that's the kind of shot that takes a little bit of thinking to get. That you have to see the shot before you take the shot. You know what I mean? Your Heineken can wasn't sitting on that railing, just sitting there. You had to see. Oh, look.
No. I put it there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I put it there, and I wanted the sun, at one side or another.
Yep.
But I'll be honest with you. I didn't have my glasses on. I couldn't see. I'm being perfectly honest with you. I did not have my glasses. I set it up on the railing, and I thought, okay, I want the sun to one side. Well, because of where the beer can was, I had to move. I put the sun on the left-hand side looking at it, and I took the picture.
Yep.
So that is, to me, just such a great thing for what Apple is doing with these cameras, because I didn't do anything but point and shoot.
No, that's wrong. That's dead wrong.
What? No, I didn't.
You did. And this is something that you should pat yourself in the back for, congratulate yourself for, and think about for the next time. You saw this shot before you took the picture. You imagined in your mind's eye what this shot would look like. Hey, what if I put look, there's the sun. It's going down. It's pretty. It's beautiful. What would happen if I put my beer can on this railing and took a picture? You visualized the shot. You thought about the shot. This is not a shot that you just pulled your camera out and took. You created this shot. This is not a natural shot. You made this shot. You didn't take an image. You created a shot. And there's a huge difference there, Jim. Seriously, you got to congratulate yourself on creating this image.
Now I know the apocalypse is coming because you just congratulated me on a shot that I took. So,
no, seriously. MacMan says it would have been a great shot without it, to be honest, still a nice shot. But I disagree, MacMan. MacMan's saying without the beer can, it still would have been a great shot. Without the beer can, it would have been the same sunset shot that everyone's taken 1,000 times before. These sunset shots are a dime a dozen. Hell, I was down at the beach a couple of weeks ago and took this exact same sunset shot. Sunset shots aren't really all that special. They're special to you, but they're not special to other people. What's special, what makes this image special, is the foreground image. It could have been a stuffed animal. It could have been something else. But because we know you and we know how much you love this Heineken stuff, the two most important things in your life are right there: sunshine
Okay,
and
so
beer.
how do I, as a shit photographer, how do I do that more often? I mean, let's take for example the picture that I sent you last week when we were in Sayulita,
Yes.
and I picked up the camera and I just took a picture
Yep.
of here's where I am, here's where I'll be doing the show, and you put that on the show. What was the difference between that one and this one?
Because what's the place called?
Sayulita.
Sayulita. The Sayulita shot had some problems with it. I'm showing it on the screen now for the audience. If you take a look at it later, you'll see that at the top you've got some probably palm tree leaves that are hanging in the top of the frame that sort of distract from the image. A lot of trees in the foreground.
God damn it! I did that on purpose.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't.
But this is what that shot is what I call a memory shot. There's nothing special about the shot. It's a picture of a beach in Mexico. It's a memory shot. It's one that you can pull up and go, oh yeah, I remember being here. I remember the weather. I remember what I was wearing. I was there with my new fiance. That kind of stuff. But there's nothing special about the image.
Just to be clear, I was wearing a Speedo.
No, dude, come on, man. What the hell is wrong with you? Jesus.
Or most of a Speedo.
Sick bastard. Monty says one is artistic, one is for documentation. You understand the idea?
Yeah, I guess.
Now, the only criticism of your Sunset Heineken shot I would have is that, and this is something you can pay attention to in the future, your horizon is dead center of your image. And it's something that beginners do on a regular basis. They put that horizon line right center of your image. If you had just moved the camera up or down a little bit to get more sky or more ground in your shot, it would have been a better image. And I can actually show the audience that who are watching just by doing a simple zoom into the image. And now the image, I moved the horizon line down from the center, and it's subjectively a better shot because that horizon line, for whatever reason, isn't in the center. But now the other thing is, so you imagine this shot, you visualize this shot, but then the camera you used allowed you to create a better image because of the capabilities of that iPhone camera. It's low light capabilities. It's a night mode. I don't know if night mode kicked in on the shot or not.
I actually, you should be able to tell by the metadata on that, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it may or may not have. But certainly the quality of the camera you were using helped make this a better shot too. But the composition of the shot was entirely up to you, and the composition is really, really nice.
Okay. Well, thank you.
So that's you're saying how to do this again in the future? It's easy. Think about your photography. Think about the image you want to create. Visualize the image before you create it, and then work to create the visualization. It's not rocket science, dude.
So, can I ask one more question?
Absolutely.
Do you take photos like that if you go out and you take a photo? Because I mean, you post your stuff. You're a pro. So, do you take that stuff and say, shit, I wish that I had made the horizon a bit different, and then you change it? Or, like in Photoshop or whatever, I wouldn't even know how to change it. So
good question.
Do you change that stuff and then post it? Or do you post and say, here is the moment of the shot that I took. I realized that, I could have done this or this. What do you do?
Every shot I take gets edited somehow, because there is no shot taken by a camera that can absolutely accurately capture the image that I saw, color-wise, light-wise, shadow-wise, all that kind of stuff.
Wait, what you saw visually, or you saw in your mind?
So I'll see a sunset and I'll take a picture, and the camera quality, what the image that the camera captures is never as vibrant as the image I saw in real life, because your camera can't capture the dynamic range that your eyeballs and your brain can. So I will then bring into either the native editing app or Snapseed or whatever app I want to use to create the image that I want to create, and then I'll pump up the colors and I'll change the shadow a little bit. If I notice then I screwed the horizon up or there's something dangling from the top of the photo, I'll edit it then and make those changes. But
I saw that dig. I got that.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. But so you're not as drunk as I thought you were. And but for me, I don't make those beginner mistakes anymore. And it's it's a mistake. It's a beginner mistake. No big deal. Because one of the reasons why, and I bet, do you have the grid turned on your iPhone?
I do not.
Turn your grid on, because the grid will show you where your horizon line is. And all you have to do is line up your horizon with one of those two. The grid is that tic-tac-toe box. We're lining up with the line on the top of the grid or the line at the bottom of the grid, whichever you choose. And that way your horizon will never be dead center. So boom, you already fixed that problem. You should never take another picture with the horizon dead center.
Well, not grid on, though. I mean, that's the thing.
Sorry, you broke up there. What'd you say?
Now I have to figure out how to turn the grid on.
It's in settings, camera, and then scroll down to the very bottom, grid on. It's really easy.
Oh my God.
But no, I honest to God, when I first saw that photo, I literally thought someone, Erica or someone else, had taken your camera and had taken that photo because it was such a good photo. Usually you don't think about your photos, you just take a picture. And they come out as average everyday tourist photos. This wasn't an average everyday photo.
Average everyday tourist photos. That's interesting, because that's why you never want to go to somebody's house when they say, "Hey, we just got back from our trip." Right? I mean, seriously.
Unless they've taken one of my classes, unless they've gone to Lisbon with me, everyone who went to Lisbon with me came back with fantastic photos. I hope.
I never want to go to somebody's house when they say I just get back from vacation. Like,
want to see my photos? No, shoot me in the head. No,
I don't.
Nope.
Thank you.
We had a friend, and I won't say her name, but she just posted on Facebook 690 photos of her vacation.
Oh.
I guarantee you, of every single shot, she had 4 or 5 other shots that were the same thing, just from 2 inches to the left.
Yeah.
Shoot me in the head. 690 photos.
Not going to do it.
All at once on Facebook.
Do I know this friend?
No, you don't know.
Oh, I was going to say, because I was going to take a guess, but
I went through the first 30 or 40. Went, no, these are awful photos. I'm too old. Life's too short. Close this page.
Yeah.
Close this damn page. But that's actually the purpose of my phototourism classes, is so that you can go learn how to take better pictures, take pretty pictures of places, and when you come home, people will go, "Yeah, I'd love to see your vacation photos," because they know you're a good photographer. They know they're going to enjoy this, as opposed to seeing 690 photos of the same frickin' thing over and over again.
Like the 690 photos I post of Heineken.
Exactly. See, MacMan says, I took about 1,300 in Europe and posted about 50 over a couple of weeks. That's a good way to do it.
Perfect.
Exactly. You spread them out over time. You cull them to death. 1,350 are posters. That's pretty good. For me, my ratio is about 100 photos, and 5 are good enough to post. That to me is a good ratio for me.
Well, sounds good to me.
Anything else?
That's it.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that, we were all set up with that.
Cool. Good. Well, again, great shot. Just keep thinking about your photographs. Imagine the photograph before you take it, and then start planning your shots, and you'll get better shots all the time.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Jim. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, Shawn.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Folks, when we come back, we're going to be talking about when does editing become cheating? All that and more coming up. This is your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on this Wednesday evening. Melissa is back in the room. In our starting point photography segment for tonight's show, we want to talk about photo editing. When does editing become cheating? Now, you mentioned this to me sometime, probably 6 months ago, Melissa, and I meant to think about talking about it on the show, and I just never got around to it. There was an image that we saw when we were talking about it. You said, but that's cheating. And I said, editing is not cheating. As I just said on the show, in the segment with Jim, every photo generally needs some kind of editing. You and I have talked about this before, because your eyes and your brain are the best camera you're ever going to have. Your eyes and your brain see more than the world's greatest camera. Your eyes and your brain have a greater dynamic range or visual acuity than any camera. Your eyes and your brain see more color, more shadow, more gradation, more everything. So when you take a picture with a camera and look at the picture and go, oh, that's not very good, it's because what you saw with your brain was a much better image than the camera can possibly capture. So when I say I edit my photos, what I do is I'll take a picture, make sure my composition is good, I'll open it up in my editing software, and then I'll tweak it. I'll generally bump up the colors and do something to the shadows and change the contrast, just tweak it a little bit to make the shot as I imagine it to be. Generally, a lot of it has to do with decreasing the shadows, increasing the highlights, and bumping up the colors so it's more saturated and more vibrant. Melissa, for example, has beautiful red hair, and my iPhone never captures her hair with the same color that I see when I'm looking at her. So I just bump up the reds in an image of her. So here's some examples of what I'm talking about. Here's some shots that I've taken, and let me put them up so Melissa can see them too, so she can see what I'm talking about. So just give me a second here while I find this image for Melissa. Melissa, you'll remember this. Remember this shot. This is when you and I were on the motorcycle out riding around, and I actually composed this shot. I asked Melissa, hey, this is a really nice shot. Please go over there and pretend like you're smelling the flower. You weren't pretending. You were obviously smelling the flower. So you did. I took the picture. When I got the picture into my editing software, I realized too much of it is in focus. I wanted a much tighter, much smaller depth of field. I wanted you out of focus, but the flowers in focus, and vice versa. You could have done this either way. Mm-hmm. But for me, I wanted you out of focus and the flowers in focus. Mm-hmm. So what I did was very simply in the editing software was able to simply change it. And I would have used Snapseed on this. Mm. And I switched it to be this. So now you can see that I've desaturated the colors a little bit. I've used Snapseed's lens blur feature to make Melissa not indistinguishable. You can still see that it's a person, and if you know who it is, you know that's Melissa. But to make the flowers pop more. That's editing. It is cheating to a small degree, because that's not what happens in real life. Obviously, in real life, when you look at something, you see it all in focus. So, to me, this wasn't cheating. This was creating, in my opinion, as a photographer, a better image. Another example is when we went to, we were on the ferry. As some of you know, that when we want to go to the big city, we have to take a ferry to float over there. It's a beautiful 40-minute ride. We keep trying to get Monty to come up to visit us so he can go on the ferry ride with us. And so this is the image I took right off the ferry. I saw it was obviously an early morning ferry, the 8:40 ferry for us. I love the clouds in the background. The ferry boat is headed towards that gap in the mountains you see in left of center. And again, I saw the image in my mind's eye, took the picture, and it came out like this. And it was too flat for me. I didn't like the fact that it didn't have the color or the vibrancy of that morning light. Mm-hmm. that I wanted to capture. And so, again, very simply in the editing software, it was really easy to go from that image to this image. And all it is I made the sky a little darker, a little deeper blue. The sunlight, because I decreased the highlights, I was able to get those sun rays to pop a little bit more. And put a vignette on it in the corners to darken the corners so your eyes went more towards the center of the image.
I knew you'd put a vignette on there.
Oh, very good. You're getting to recognize this stuff. That's good. So to me, again, this is not cheating. This is editing. This is what you should do.
Well, you said a key thing a little while ago. You said just a little bit.
Yep.
I think it has to do with the degree. You're not changing the photograph. You're popping it.
Yes.
Yes, whereas some editing goes a bit far.
And that's true. There is one of the most common ways of editing going too far is stuff. If someone does HDR and overdoes the HDR. Here's another image. We were down with the puppy. On which beach was this?
We were down at Soames Beach.
Soames Beach. And I love this shot because there's Melissa, there's the mountains in the background, there's the ferry. That's the ferry we take.
Yeah.
Our new puppy was with us. Melissa with her beautiful red hair, the water. This encapsulates everything that's beautiful about where we live.
Our days, yep.
These are our days. This is what we do. When you hear that Melissa and I are going for a walk on the beach, we're not talking a sandy beach. This is more shoreline than actual beach. This is, in my opinion, a really nice shot. But it's not as good as what I saw when I took it. So it was, again, a real simple matter to take this shot and just do a few tweaks to it to create this image. Folks watching the video can see the change in
quite a
color
different.
of the trees. The audio's still on? Yeah, there we go. I went off to a local skate park and saw this jump there and saw the background and thought, oh, if I stand here, the skater kids... Oh, do we lose... We still had audio?
Oh, my goodness, audio. No audio.
Check, because I see audio on my end. Crap, hang on. Why did I lose audio? No, we should... You guys should still...
Strangely, I like the original better than
Okay,
this.
folks, can you guys hear me? You're back
You're
now.
back
Okay.
now.
So I saw the image and thought, okay, this is the shot that I want to take. And I just waited. I probably took 20 or 30 shots like this, waiting for the right set of bikers to come by. Oh, wait, I'm lying.
I was just going to say, what?
This
Or are you being cheeky?
is the original shot.
But you're doing... So when you describe what your mind's eye sees is your best camera and blah, 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 what you're doing is changing that completely.
That's right.
And that, to me, is cheating unless you choose to say, this is what I did. I changed the whole sky.
In this example, this is 100% cheating. There's no
Yes.
doubt that is completely...
But beautiful. And
It
hey,
is.
why
It
not?
is.
As long as you say it, tell people.
The problem is this kind of stuff has now become so easy to do. This is Luminar 4.2. I've been playing around with this. And so you saw the original. Here's the original sky. I love the framing. I love the bikers. I love the positioning. But as soon as I took the photo, I realized the sky is just shit.
The sky let you down.
The sky let me down. So, oh no, the MacMan, I don't really care for the cheat. This is just a real quick cheat. This isn't tweaked or anything else like that. This is just to show you guys the difference. But here on the Luminar app, I've got Gesundheit.
Thank you.
I've got all these options for different skies. I can put a dramatic sunset on this. Luminar's a bit slow on my old Mac, so hang on a second. Again, that's a really pretty image. I love that image. I wish I had taken this picture.
So, and I mean, that is cheating, but it's more stimulating. It kind of gives you the feeling of what it must be like for those guys. There's that dramatic change with the cloud and the sun. I mean, it is wonderful. So what's wrong with doing it as long as you can say, I mean, look at that.
That's an impossible image.
Yes.
That image can't happen.
You have to cheat so that it looks realistic. But anyway.
The problem is this has become so easy. And because it's become so easy, it's going to be very tempting for people to pass this off as their shot, as I took this picture. I'm that good a photographer. I was able to stand in this spot. Let's go back to one of the sky shots. I was able to stand in this spot and capture that beautiful background sky. You should hire me because I'm a good photographer. That's where we're going to have problems with this.
You still need to know all of the true basics of photography.
But not with apps like this.
Yes, you do.
I don't know a damn. There was not. I don't know any. I don't know. Yeah, I don't need to know anything about photography to take this picture. That picture was me standing there taking pictures of bikers. It's the change in the software that allows me to make these kinds of.
Yes, but so Damon, everyone knows, brilliant young photographer. We had a big argument in our house. I think it was about a year ago. Damon took an incredible shot, and then he had added some birds. And when he posted it, someone even had said to him, "Oh, awesome shot, Damon, love the birds." But he had actually imposed those birds.
He photoshopped the birds in.
Onto, and he didn't say anything.
That's right.
Even though he is a brilliant young photographer, and he could have gotten the birds if they were there. He's that good. But he wanted to add them in because he knows that adds to the depth or whatever.
That was a good shot.
But he didn't say so. He didn't say, I added them in. He just kept going. And so Shawn was very, very upset with him. And
he and I got into a big fight over it.
It was a big fight.
It was our first father-stepson actual fight. It was a big argument. There was yelling. There was cursing. It got very unpleasant. Because the problem I had with it is that if you don't identify that as a photo, let's call it a photo illustration. Time Magazine started doing this back in the 80s and 90s. When they manipulated a photo, they'd call it a photo illustration. When they added something or subtracted something or did something to the photo that significantly changed what the original was, it said in the credits, photo illustration. And I have no problem with photo illustration. I have no problem with Damon adding birds into the photo or adding a hot air balloon or whatever it might have been. As long as you identify that's what you did. And all you have to say is, this is a photo illustration. That's all you have to say.
DH says, took the picture or made the image. That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Well, still, even it doesn't matter whether you took the photo or created the image. You have to be honest about what you've done.
Yes.
Now, MacMan is bringing up my next point, which is a very good point. Let me finish this one first. If you fundamentally change the tone of the image, because the image did get better. It was a drone shot of a guy in a canoe. So it was a big lake, small guy in a canoe. Beautiful image just the way it was. But for whatever reason, the birds coming into the frame made it even better. It gave it that sense of motion. It gave you a respect for the photographer that he was able to capture that image at that moment. That's what a lot of photography is, capturing that one perfect moment. And then the problem was he took credit for it as a photo. Friend said, that's a great photo. And he did not say, yeah, but I added the birds in.
But it was a great photo.
It was a great photo. It was a great image. Let's differentiate the two. He created a really lovely image, an image that you'd be proud to print off and put on your wall.
But prior to the birds being put in, it was still
a good
image that he had created. Yeah.
But the thing that he posted on Instagram wasn't a photograph anymore. It was a photo illustration. Now, MacMan makes a great point. So is removing a power line considered cheating? There were several photos. MacMan was there in Lisbon with us. Lisbon's a beautiful city, but there's a lot of overhead lines, trolley lines, electrical lines, cell phone lines. And there were several photos that I took that I masked out the power lines. I fundamentally changed the image. That's not real life anymore. I didn't mark them as photo illustrations, though, because they still represented the shot. The power lines didn't make or break the shot. You know what I mean? Having them in there or taking them out, there was an aesthetic thing that I took them out. If I had added people in, or if I'd added birds, the one shot I'm thinking about was that lovely arch shot with you in the center of the arch, and there was those power lines were going through the arch. So I took those power lines out. If
Well,
I
I
had
did
put
that beautiful night one
That's
that I
right.
was very proud of with the pink
Yep.
building, and you took them out.
took the power lines out. Now, if you had added in a bird, and let's put a bald eagle, that's wrong. That would have been a photo illustration. So it's a very fine line in between editing and cheating.
Yes.
Not editing and creating, because it's okay to create images, but it's when you misrepresent the image that there's a problem with it. Because that misrepresentation might get you a job over somebody else. This guy does this great shot with these birds and the drone. Let's hire him.
Yes,
but he
but
didn't
you,
do
do
that.
you think that somebody that wouldn't be worthy of getting a job would get it over you because they can cheat with editing programs?
Yes, with stuff like I just showed, absolutely. Because I can show that I can get these great dramatic, dynamic images
I think.
where I live. What's he chewing on?
Excuse me. I think he has Shawn's underwear. Excuse me.
No, he doesn't. It's got your socks.
Excuse me. He has my socks.
The dog is chewing up Melissa's socks. Monty says subtracting is different from adding. That's interesting, yeah. DH, darkroom dodge techniques. But dodging and burning is distinctly different. That is definitely in the editing field. When you're lightening up some areas and darkening other areas, it's called dodging and burning. But that's definitely editing and less towards cheating. Adding elements.
That's the key
Is
to
cheating.
me is if you've taken a shot, but your eyes, you want to highlight that hair or you want to, give it a vignette or whatever, that's different. That's your image that you're just changing. Whereas if you just start to take your image out, your cloudy sky out and put one, that's cheating.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you're in a photo competition or showing your stuff off, and I take this shot of the bikers, and it's a boring image with that background. It's well composed, but it's a boring image. The sky made it. What is he doing now?
Excuse me.
What made you think he wouldn't find those socks? Just move the socks like 10 feet to the left. The dog's going to find the damn socks.
Oh my goodness.
You're ruining my segment.
I'm so sorry. They're my bamboo socks.
So if those two images are compared side by side, someone would look at it and go, wow, this guy waited for the right light and the right day and caught that moment with that dramatic sky in the background. I'm going to hire that guy and not hire the guy who took the well-composed but boring shot.
No, if you were someone that had hired photographers and ran something where you use photography constantly, you would be able to say, this is a great shot. What did you do to this shot? Da-da-da-da.
Maybe.
And I think that you could tell if one photographer was more talented than the other.
For portfolio, yes. Oh, if I hand you a portfolio of images that had 50, 60, 70 images in it, and you do the same, then yes, you'd see the
You would
difference
know, yes.
over time. But because this software is getting better and better and better all the time, I'm going to eventually be able to create a portfolio of beautiful sunsets and skies.
Then so you go out, set it up, and then change it? That
Yep.
seems ridiculous.
Yep. Because it's less work.
Well, what
Because
was-
if I know now, I can go to that same spot and just stand there and wait for bikers to go by. I don't got to worry about the background anymore. I don't got to worry about the sky. I don't got to think. I don't got to look at the. Because right now, what you do as a photographer, our son Damon does this all the time. He's a weatherman. He knows when the thermals are coming and when there's enough moisture in here to create the fog patterns that he loves, and he goes out into the woods to take those shots. Well, with this kind of software, he doesn't have to anymore. He can go in the brightness of day in the nice warm daytime, come home, use the software to create that moody, dark stuff that he likes to shoot. You know what I'm saying?
It's a very interesting subject.
For me, the key is as long as the photographer is honest about it. Look at this. Look at this, folks.
It's like, when are you guys done?
When are you going to be finished soon? I'm bored. I'm so bored.
Mom, Dad.
Where are you? There you. There's the puppy. Say hello.
Hello, beautiful puppy. We love you. Dad, you haven't given me any attention for hours.
Hours. You've been sitting in this chair for hours. So I think for me the key is as long as the photographer says it's a photo illustration, then I'm okay with it.
Yes.
It's when people are going to start claiming that these are not illustrations.
Well, there was a long time ago you quoted a photographer, very famous, for saying something about, what was it? That the art is being banished. The art is fading away because of all of this ability to change it.
Possibly. Monty says, that dog is going to be huge. Need treats, please.
He's had so many. Sherry, he's so spoiled.
Yeah, he really is.
Don't
Bye.
you worry. He's got Shawn treats.
Who gives him a treat bomb every morning before he gets his breakfast?
That's part of our routine.
He gets a Kong full of treats before breakfast.
And he's irresistible.
Before I even get my coffee, this friggin' dog's gotten treats. So let us know what you guys think. Is this cheating? Is it editing? Should things be marked this way? I'm curious what you guys think with regards to this. Even if you're not a professional photographer, let me know. Send me emails to Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. Love to hear what you guys say about this. John Engberg, I got some 4 amp LED lights that are rechargeable, and I wonder if I can connect them to the Mac via the keyboard for charging. They can connect via USB. Is that possible? If not, I've got a 5-watt charger. If the keyboard ID doesn't work, is the charger preferable? John, all you got to do is plug them in. You're not going to hurt your Mac or your keyboard plugging them in. If your keyboard can't deliver enough power, what will happen is you'll see a little dialog box that'll pop up on screen that says, please unplug USB accessory drawing too much power. So it's no big deal. But most likely, you've got, I think, Mac keyboards deliver 5 watts of power. So I think that'd probably be enough to charge some what now?
Because he's sat right in the spot where he's just like, oh, God, how long are they going to be? Time to go on the bed.
Our friend Lauren Finkelstein says, I think you missed a very important qualifier in your segment this week. Talking about does better gear make you a better photographer? He says it depends on in what way the gear is better. If you take a bad or average photographer and upgrade them from a basic SLR to an amazing but complicated SLR, they aren't going to take better pictures. But if you take the same person and upgrade them from that basic SLR to an iPhone 11 Pro, they will take much better pictures. The brain inside the iPhone itself becomes the better photographer. Portrait mode, better automatic settings for exposure, million calculations per second. I'm not saying everyone will become a great photographer with an iPhone 11 Pro, but it can certainly make most people much better photographers simply by doing most of the work for them. Thanks, Lauren. And our friend Jason Painter in Sydney, Australia. I like what you said about this. In essence, the answer is no. There are some nuances, though. If you're a bad photographer, a camera with better features that compensates for that deficiency will improve your photos. What you said about outgrowing your camera is true. If you know the limits of your camera and there are technical requirements for better pictures, low light performance, you would need a better camera to achieve what you want to capture. I've outgrown 2 cameras since 2014. I was driven a little by the momentousness of my 50th birthday to get a Nikon D850 as a present, but I was also hitting up against the limits of my D5300. Another reason I got the D850 was I desired to get my dream focal length, a 28mm, and you can't get that equivalent to that for Nikon's crop sensor camera. So a specific limitation of equipment like this can also be a factor in upgrades. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you guys' emails.
Now that's Jason.
Jason Painter in Australia.
We see he's doing very well. He's getting, I see that he does a huge variety, and he's doing
Yeah,
really
his
well.
Instagram shots have gotten noticeably better.
They really
both
have.
in quality, composition, and editing
They have.
over the last 2 years.
And he does a lot of variety of that are challenging. It's great.
Yep.
I love
Good to
seeing
see.
his improvements.
Folks, that's it for tonight's show. I want to say thanks as always to our good friend Jim Dalrymple down there in Mexico, who's going to be there for another week. Like that's going to be some freaking kind of hardship for him, but he'll be there for another week down in Mexico. Also, thanks to you guys if you're tuned in live or listening in via the archive. We always appreciate you guys being tuned in the show. Until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!